What's going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome to Historical Board Gaming's The Korean War. Again, this is our updated version. Definitely a lot more movement happened this turn 1 than turn 1 did in the first playthrough. So, let's get going. So, first off on the calendar, because it is now because we broke it up a little bit more, we are looking at the months of June and July 1950. And again, the turn order is North Korea, China, South Korea, the United States, and then the UN. This is just a look at the production chart. No one has gone up or down yet, nor has anyone gone up and down on the territory chart. I'm using this IPC chart to chart how many territories everybody has. So we'll go over to North Korea. North Korea started with 28 IPC. They bought 2 infantry, 2 artillery, 2 tanks, and 2 supplies. The only combat that they launched this turn was to cross into the neutral 38th parallel zones. Those are not going to be counted towards the territory marker since they're neutral. So that was the only attacks for North Korea. Their non-combats, they just started moving troops south. Consolidated some of their forces around Pyongyang, and yeah, just getting stuff moved south. And then they placed all their troops in Pyongyang, since that is the only factory that North Korea has. Going up to China, and then at the end of the turn they just collected 28 as usual. For China, up in the north, they had 10 IPC. China bought 2 mech and 2 supply. Since they're not at war, they kind of just sitting there. They moved troops. They moved their forces from Shenyang to here, and their forces from Tonghua to over here. And then Airsoft Commander deployed a mech and a supply at this factory, and then a mech and supply at that factory. We are just doing where it is just 1 bridge per territory, but obviously you can go into the different territories, but if they are strategically bombed, they will get they'll get that movement deduction. One unit that I forgot to talk about that we are going to bring into the game, we are adding tactical bombers. And one thing that we also decided to do was tactical bombers can attack the bridges too. But so for strategic bombers, if strategic bombers try to bomb the bridges, they will hit on a 2 or less. And then if a tactical tries to attack, the tactical can hit on a 3 or less. There is a little difference with the inherent AAA for these bridges. So if it's a strategic bomber that's attacking, the AAA hits on a 1. If it's a tactical bomber, the AAA gets a +1 because technically the tactical bombers have to get in close to actually hit the target. So that was one other thing that we quickly added before we actually started the game. So then at the end of their turn, China collected 10. Coming down to South Korea. South Korea had 30 IPC to spend. They bought 6 infantry for Seoul. They bought 3 for Busan, and then they also bought a tank that is being delivered from the United States. South Korea conducted no combat, just non-combats, getting troops. Trying to get their troops north to try and meet the communist invasion, while also just getting their troops into Seoul and moving some troops up from Busan up to the north. And then at the end of the turn, the South Koreans still collected 30 IPC. For the United States, the U.S. had 50 IPC to spend. They bought 3 infantry, 3 tanks, a mech, a fighter, and 2 supply. The 3 infantry are being flagged as the 1st Cavalry Division, and the armor is being flagged as the 1st Armor Division. No combat for the Americans as well. What they did do was they took the infantry in Wuhan and paired it with the 25th Division and its artillery down from Busan. They came up and made a landing here to reinforce the South Koreans there on the eastern side of the peninsula, while an infantry regiment and artillery from Seoul pulled back here to Osan to meet up with elements of the 24th Infantry Division to prepare, just to kind of prepare the back portions. In my mind, I see a couple things that Airsoft Commando might do, so I'm trying to prepare for all eventualities. And then the U.S. Air Force moved their planes off of Tsushima, Japan, over here to Wagwong. And the U.S. now has their F-86 jet fighter and their B-29s on standby for next turn for potential combat. And then at the end of the turn, the U.S. collected their 50. And then finally, we have the UN at 20 IPC. They bought 2 infantry, a tank, and a transport. They did not conduct any combat. Their non-combats involved bringing in infantry and artillery up here as well to reinforce the Allied forces here on the eastern side of the peninsula. They brought their air forces forward from Tsushima to Wagwong as well as moving the UN fleet up one sea zone into Sea Zone 3 to prepare for some overwatching on the western side of the peninsula. And then at the end of the turn, the UN collected 20 IPC. All right, so going back to it, obviously, no territory has really changed sides since the 38th parallel territories are considered neutral territories, and we have not gone up or down on the IPC chart, even though really for this game the only factions that'll either go up or down are China or are North Korea and South Korea. They're the only ones whose IPC are affected by the capturing of territories. And then obviously China will get their boost once they come into the war. And then, like I said, China can get a secondary boost if any Allied forces, whether land or air, ever enter any of the Chinese territory, and they'll get a 15%. They'll get a 15 IPC boost up to 50 to join the Americans. So again, like I said, it's going to be very difficult for the Allies once the Chinese come in as to whether or not they want to try and halt China's productions and getting Chinese forces here into the north. And then, like I said, I don't know it, but Airsoft Commando knows it. He's got 15 infantry spread throughout the north here to potentially to use as well when China comes into the war. All right, so that's going to be it for turn 1, and we will see you guys next time for turn 2. So until then, guys, as always, take care.